Hello again. Back from a bit of a break. I thought we'd do something a little bit different this time. It's inspired by a conversation I was having with one of my guitarist friends while I was on vacation. And basically, 20 questions all about gear. Oh, Fender or Gibson? Really difficult question to start with. I don't know. They're so different. I suppose you're thinking about like the Fender, thinking about Strats and Teles and so on. Gibson, things like Les Pauls and SGs. A lot depends on my mood. It was very difficult, I think, to pick one above the other. Absolutely had to. I'd say Fender only because maybe I have a playing history going back further with Fender than Gibson guitars, but close call. Strat or Tele? Probably a Strat. I think traditionally I've been more of a Strat fan than a Tele fan, although for the last maybe year, 18 months or so, bit warmer towards the Tele than I used to be, but of the two, yeah, Strat. Personal preference at the moment would probably be towards a Les Paul, which is slightly odd because during my formative playing years when I was really learning guitar and really just getting into music generally, I was a huge fan, well I still am a huge fan of Angus Young, who's synonymous with the SG. SG is a great guitar. I've owned SGs, played Les Pauls as well. If I had to go into a guitar store now and just pick one or the other, though, probably a Les Paul. This was a bit of an easier question. Electric. I've got acoustic guitars and I enjoy playing acoustic, but I don't play acoustic guitar properly, really the way an acoustic guitar should be played. Noodle around with acoustic a little bit, but you know, at the end of the day, I'm a predominantly an electric player. Probably humbucker. Most of the guitars I've got have humbuckers in, but I do enjoy the sound of the Strat. Just for what it is. If I only had to pick one guitar with one type of pickup, I'd probably go for humbucker. If it's going to be a single coil pickup, though, it's got to be a proper single coil pickup. Yes, you can split the coils on a humbucker to give you a slightly single coil sort of sound, but it's not the same. Single coil sound has got to come from a single coil pickup. But humbucker or single coil, I'd go for humbucker. Vintage guitars have got so much character, and wandering around guitar stores that are stuffed with vintage instruments, I think it's a more pleasurable experience than walking around a guitar store that's just filled with the modern gear. But playing the guitars, two things have put me off. Vintage guitars, they've been played by other people, and sometimes you pick up very old, very vintage guitars and there's quite a lot of DNA in them, and playing them can be a slightly unpleasant experience. Even when they're cleaned up, though, the financial side of the guitar market's just getting a bit crazy, and vintage guitars are stupid expensive nowadays. A lot of cases, and there's so much pressure. You've got to keep it original to preserve the value of it. And sometimes the guitar might be better if you swap out a pickup or you change a bit of hardware and upgrade it. And it's difficult to do with a vintage guitar because it's vintage, and there's kind of pressure to keep it original. So I guess I'd probably say modern. Superstrat is one of those words that's kind of synonymous with the late 80s, early 90s, when there was the real shred guitar scene, and you had guys like Paul Gilbert, Joe Satriani, Steve Vai, Vinnie Moore, people like that. They were playing Ibanez guitars, and they had guitars from people like Jackson, Charvel, Kramer, people like that. Kind of get pigeonholed as a rock guitar, as a shredder's guitar, but I think they're a lot more versatile than that. I've seen them being used in like jazz situations, and I've played Superstrat style guitars for certainly like non-shredding, non-metal sort of context, and they work really well. Never actually owned an Ibanez, which is the sort of like synonymous with shredding, although I've played an awful lot. Owned Jackson's Charvels over the years. Had a Fender HM Strat, which was one of the less common Superstrats, and that was an incredibly versatile guitar. Had uses way beyond just the metal side of things. So yeah, Superstrats, good thing. I guess even like the Tomson there, that's custom guitar. It's got 2 humbuckers, Floyd Rose, 24 fret neck. It's a Superstrat, so yeah, Superstrats are good. Shaped guitars I've never really got on with. One of the first guitars I had was quite a crazy shape. It was an old guitar called a Fender Katana. Boy, do I wish I'd hung on to that, because they're really quite rare and quite sought after now. But it was always quite a tricky guitar to play and to live with, because it was such an awkward shape. You couldn't sit down to play it very comfortably. So things like Flying V's, Explorers and so on, no, not really for me. Although I did once play, it was a custom guitar from, I think it was Overwater. It was like a one-off job they built, sort of like small, soft-edged, small Explorer style body, and that was really, really nice. Quite regret not buying that, actually. I did have the chance to buy it. But generally, no, weird shaped guitars, not for me. I like versatility, so I'd probably say a trem bridge rather than a hardtail. There's certain advantages to playing a hardtail if you're doing string bending and double stops and so on. Arguably a hardtail is better, but for versatility I'd probably go for a trem every time. I think I'd say Floyd Rose trem rather than a vintage style. With the proviso, yeah, it would be a Floyd Rose style locking trem. Personal preferences, like I've got on the Tomson there, the Schaller licensed one, which is really, really good. Played some other Floyd Rose licensed ones, naming names, like some of the ones on the Ibanez, never really got on with. So I think, given the choice between a Floyd Rose trem and a vintage trem, I'd go with the Floyd Rose. But choice between some of the licensed Floyd Roses versus vintage, I'll probably go for vintage. For versatility, I'd probably say 24, but there's a certain thing about where the neck pickup is. You've got 24 frets, moves it a little bit towards the bridge, and arguably you lose a little bit of tone. So 22 frets I think is a nice compromise. Always feels slightly shortchanged with just 21 frets. Although, strangely, a friend of mine swears by 21, he thinks a 22 fret neck looks a bit ugly. So, on balance, yeah, probably 22 frets. Standard tuning. I do a lot of teaching, so standard tunings, it's just a good common ground. Everybody understands. Never really got into alternative tunings for like acoustic or anything like that. The most I might do in terms of alternative tunings is drop all the strings down by 1 or 2 semitones just to get something a bit heavier, or now and again just drop the bottom string down a couple of frets. But generally 99.9% of the time I'm just playing in standard E tuning. Pick all the time. I'm not really a good fingerstyle player. I'll hack around a little bit with fingers, but generally pick. Sometimes do a little bit of what you call hybrid picking, using the pick and fingers, but not a real part of my playing style. Yeah, definitely a plectrum player. I know there are people who would argue you can't tell the difference. If I had to make a choice, yeah, tubes. There's something about a valve amp, just when it's playing right, good overdrive sound, just sounds absolutely awesome. So yeah, tubes. For the sort of stuff I'm doing, combo wins out over stack every time. It's smaller to have a combo than a big stack, and certainly a lot more portable if going between lessons or jam sessions or whatever. And there's some really nice low wattage valve amps at the moment where you can get a good overdriven sound, you know, without it being stupidly loud. I've got the Blackstar HD5R, really nice 5-watt all valve amp, not huge but get a good sound. So yeah, combos. Again, just based on the way that I'm playing at the moment, I'll probably say DIing more often than miking up, with the proviso that you've got to have a good speaker emulation set up in there to make the most of the sound. Personally, I find that a lot more versatile. Just run a line from the speaker emulator into the mixer, and then, you know, for recording, for doing things like YouTube or Skyping or whatever, for doing online lessons. And it's just a bit more controllable. You know, not annoying the neighbours if you want to be playing or recording quite late at night. You don't need to worry about turning the amp up and making a lot of noise. You can control it a lot better through speaker emulation. And if you're recording it, just run a DI to the mixer. Nowadays, Stompboxes recently went back to an all Stompbox setup. Probably about last year or so I've been using all Stompboxes. I do still have multi-effects units that I use for some recording and just messing around, but generally I like just having everything laid out in front of me, each pedal doing its own job. I'm not that demanding in terms of effects or having a really complex guitar sound, so it's just, you know, a bit of drive, a bit of chorus, a bit of delay or whatever. So just Stompboxes suits me fine. Cable, again, it sort of follows on from the Stompbox philosophy. It's about keeping it simple, and it's one less thing to go wrong. So yeah, cables. Oh, so many choices. I suppose the obvious answer is to say something like the 59 Les Paul. I don't know. I really don't know. So that's a very tough question. There's a lot of guitars, you know, really sort of iconic guitars out there. Really nice Gibson 335, perhaps. I think, just for the hell of it, just a really nice vintage Tele. You know, nothing, not like a closet classic. Something's got a bit of wear on it, so, you know, wouldn't worry about picking up this classic vintage guitar and playing it. You know, but like clean enough that it hasn't got a whole load of previous players' DNA on the fingerboard. But yeah, probably something like a really nice 50s Tele. Oh, there's an awful lot. That's another really hard question. You know, would I pick a guitar because of who's played it, because of, you know, a real guitar hero of mine, or would I be picking it because of what songs have been recorded with it, or just because of the, you know, characteristics of the guitar? I think actually just it'd be interesting to play Eddie Van Halen's original, like, Frankenstein guitar. Not so much because I'm a huge Eddie Van Halen fan more than any other guitarist or anything. It's just I've played an awful lot of those Superstrats style guitars, and so many guitars that are so like evolutions of what Eddie Van Halen did with that Frankenstein guitar. So I think it'd be interesting to play it, just to see how it compares to all the guitars I've played that kind of have that as their original heritage. That'd be quite interesting. So there, 20 questions about gear. Don't know how many of those answers you agree with. Feel free to put something in the comments section down there. You know, give me your own answers, or if you feel like it, take the questions. I'll mix them up, come up with a few questions of your own. Do your own video. You know, let me know what you think. So that's all for now. Thanks for watching, and look forward to seeing and hearing your responses to this video, and I'll see you in another video sometime soon. Bye for now.